Hey guys, welcome back to another conversation, and I'm here. We're actually uh ano ba, Xavier. We go back way back, UANP days, data ethics
Been a
days.
while.
Been a while. He's done well for himself, if I might say so, but I'll let him deny it. AI engineer, CTO of Boom AI. Anyway, I'll let Xavier update everyone on what he's been up to. And very recently, it's the reason why I invited him is I caught wind of what he's been doing in Bacolod and Cebu. So medyo suspense muna. I'll let Xavier talk about that. Welcome back, Xavier.
Thanks, Doc. Yeah, thanks for the invite to this talk. I was super excited to do this. I think it's the second time we've done a conversation over Zoom, so that's pretty cool. The first one was on, I think, ethics and algorithms, so that was also pretty interesting. And then, AI became a huge thing, and then ethics became a good thing again. So
It's back.
I think they just really both. It's really both. Back they both really come hand in hand. But yeah, like you've mentioned, I'm sort of trying to lead the engineering efforts of Boom AI. It's basically an AI company based in Utah that's focused on replacing customer service agents with full AI. So that's exactly what we've done,
That's it.
and we've
There you
been
go.
in business. Yeah, we've been in business for a year and a half for that AI specifically. We have a bunch of other products. Obviously, we have CRM powered with AI, a bunch of other stuff, right? So the reason why it got really interesting because we got into this business even before ChatGPT became a thing. So, like I mentioned, we're in business for a year and a half, maybe more, maybe 2 years now. And ChatGPT just maybe came in
Seven
around
months, 8 months ago.
last year. Yeah,
Mm.
7 months, 8 months, right? So we've already been replacing people, people's jobs, even before people have been replacing people's jobs, right? It just hyper accelerated because of ChatGPT. And then came in prompt engineering, and then with prompt engineering people realized AI engineering has been sort of left in the dust because people are too focused on data science, or people are trying to focus on data science, whatever they think they mean when they say data science,
Ayan na naman
right?
tayo. With definitions, di ba?
Yeah, no, exactly, with definitions, exactly right. So there's one thing I realized March 2022. I was still the head of data science for Boom AI back then. I wasn't leading the entire engineering effort globally. I realized that when I'm leading a team that's probably dying, that is the thesis of why I'm doing everything up until this point. I feel like data science as a profession is not exactly onwards and upwards, unless something changes. Unless something changes. So the definition would then be, using data to extract insights, and then using those insights to drive business. For example, just a very simplistic definition, right? With the advent of GPT, we noticed that now that it's still free, ChatGPT is still free, you can actually play around with it enough that it doesn't even need to be so accurate. It can already give you insights. And obviously, all ML models are inaccurate, right? They're all wrong. And so is GPT. But it's so rightfully right, even if it's wrong, it can actually already help you with your job.
Kumbaga, it's
And
right.
so, what I'm
It's
trying
right
to say
enough.
is
Tama na.
it's right enough. It's
Mm.
right enough. And it basically shortens sort of what the data scientists does in terms of timeline from maybe like 6 months to 2 hours, for example. So let's say I want to build a sentiment analysis, the most basic NLP project ever, right? You can even write one that just identifies words. Usually in business, it makes a lot more sense to collect more data first, makes a lot more sense to collect context. With GPT, it can be done 15 minutes, maybe. I'm saying chat GPT first, right? Chat GPT, as in it's not deployed yet. You're just copy pasting things in chat GPT. So that's cool. That's great. And then we go onwards and upwards to writing books and all that stuff. Obviously, that's not really something that data science and machine learning is sort of doing. But then again, with that sort of power of being able to do so many things with just one tool, AI engineering should have been a bigger focus now then it is data science. So that was the thesis then. That was the next sort of thing that I realized. So the first one was, I think data science is not going in the upwards direction because of AI, or at least the technologies that come with AI, not AI exactly. And then AI engineering is sort of not the focus. And so I wanted to do something there. But then how do I even find the people who might be interested in AI engineering? And so I saw that, doing a quick Google search and search trends and all that, AI spiked, or at least search for AI spiked around the same time that ChatGPT spiked. So that
Can
means
I
a lot
tell
more
you
people are
something?
interested in AI.
To interject
Sure,
here
sure,
lang.
of course.
Remember we did that labor market report in 2021,
Mm,
and we used
yeah.
Facebook search interest. It was around 6 point something million at that time. Philippines total, no? And about
Wow.
2.5 in NCR and Region 4A, which is pretty impressive. Do you know how much it is now? It more than doubled
No.
as of
Wow.
first quarter. I think we're talking 12 to 14 million Philippines wise. That's a chunk. I'm not saying they're all knowledgeable, no, but certainly the needle has moved. And yun na nga, what is
The needle
knowledgeable?
has moved.
And maybe you can elaborate on that as you narrate back. Anyways, again, back to you again. So you said you were gonna look for
Yeah,
people.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, so I wanted to look for people who aren't just interested in AI, but sort of using the current available tools to make their lives easier, or to do their jobs, or to sell something, anything. You know what I mean? And obviously, as luck has have it for us, ChatGPT is still free up until now. So I wanted to inject that into the entire conversation, but I also wanted to bring back from, I guess, prehistory or historical times, some of the tools that Google have already sort of built for us. So these things called teachable machines. Obviously, it's free for everyone. It's open. Anyone can teach it. Anyone can use it. But I think when you combine them and combine the context, and combine experience, combine being able to teach AI to layman, it actually breeds, the sort of the right demand for it. I think is maybe what I'm trying to say. So anyway, so that's my vision, right? So I wanted to be able to use these two tools, GPTs, even the bards, right? And use things that Google has already built, like the teachable machines. These are tools that teach you how to build vision and audio models from scratch without coding. So it's zero coding. So that then goes to my last thesis, or my last theory, which is, I think I can break into people's interest, even if they're not coders, if I show them that AI can be built without coding. So then those three tools again come in handy because, like I mentioned, they don't need coding, they're still free. Nobody has to pay. And so I was like, cool, okay. So now I just need some investment, right? I want to be able to do this on a broader market. I want to do it face to face. I want to be able to find people, talk to them, converse with them, not online, because I think the connection is still a lot better when you're doing this face to face. And so I also wanted to do it for outside Metro Manila first. So that's the thing there. I'm no longer currently based in Metro Manila. I am now obviously living in Bacolod. I wanted to set up roots in Bacolod in terms of the business, but still I wanted to start with AI and not exactly linked to Boom AI. So it's very interesting because then I wanted to do this for Bacolod, and then maybe for Cebu, and then maybe for Mindanao, like Butuan, Davao, and then maybe work my way back upwards, like Pampanga, somewhere Baguio. So still not within NCR, or sorry, Metro Manila,
Like the
simply because there's a
periphery.
lot of people, yeah, the periphery. So because there's a lot of people who can already sort of teach or pretend to teach AI, right? So that's great. I mean, pretending to teach AI is so much better than not knowing about it, not sharing interest and all that. But then in Metro Manila, there's like PhDs in AI. So there's so much opportunity to learn in Metro Manila. I wanted to spread that everywhere. And I wanted it to be free. So actually, everything that I've done up until this point, so I've taught in Bacolod, I've taught in Cebu, I'm planning for Mindanao as well, maybe in Butuan. It's all free, so I pay for it all myself, pay for my flights, pay for the conference room. Recently in Cebu, I partnered with the ICT Region 7. So that's pretty interesting, right? That people are actually
So
taking
did
notice
the
that, oh,
ICT give you a like a grant or something to make it happen, or is
no,
it just
actually,
PR?
I literally just beg for a room. I just like, if you have a room, is it air conditioned? Do you have Wi-Fi? Great, let's go. So anyway, I guess the point there is I've only done this twice and planning for the third time. There's already a stark difference in those two locations geographically. So the first one was, so like I said, I wanted to be able to do this for a broader market. So what I did, I started this campaign or this movement called One Liner AI. Right now, it's not a company yet. It's not registered as a company. We're not making money, nor are we soliciting anything. It's really under a consultancy that I am registered under. But it's really a movement that is sort of your first entry to AI. It is your most approachable entry to everything AI. That is my goal. That is my vision. So I started with zero coding, not one line coding. It's kind of like a joke with one of my students or some of my students. Whenever I solve problems, it's usually just with one line of code. And so I was like, okay, I wanted to use that as my brand. But then, I didn't like the fact that I would be teaching code first. So I said, okay, zero coding to everyone. And so I started I started Facebook profile or page. I started a website. I did marketing through Facebook, obviously. I did all of the marketing analytics that I used to teach. I used it myself, obviously. It did pretty well, honestly, in Bacolod, because the Bacolod was the first one that I've tried it on. And what's interesting is it was actually pretty dry. So isn't that interesting? So there's already a lot of technology enthusiasts in Bacolod. There's a lot of
When you say
student
dry,
groups.
like was it boring? Is that what you meant,
No, no,
or
no. It's the pool was dry. That means there weren't a lot of signups. At least I thought
okay,
there were
got
a
it.
lot, but
So the
now there weren't a
demand.
lot of signups. Yes, sorry. So the demand wasn't there. So I was super surprised because I thought my hypothesis was right, but obviously that's why you do testing, that's why you experiment. And so I tweaked my marketing, everything, blah blah blah. What actually worked was not spending tens of thousands in marketing, but actually talking to people. So I talked to a lot of people on the ground, Facebook, Messenger, blah blah blah, even in the news agencies, right, like DNX News. Spread the word there, find connections, find companies like Ubiquity and all of their employees, and find student groups, the actual student groups, or they found me. And all in all, basically, I wasted all of those marketing for Facebook likes and follows. But what really worked was connecting with people on the ground still, even if I was, new. But then still came the reality that I wanted to teach maybe a room of 20. Yes, indeed, we filled that room of 20, even more. I think we went to around 30. Compare that with Cebu, zero marketing, zero reaching out. So like I didn't have to, I only had to maybe connect with some guys in the ICT
So Cebu
through
was much
through a
easier.
friend.
People just flock to you without any marketing.
I had to filter people. Like
Okay, okay.
I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like I thought I would probably only have had 10, or 20 at max.
Mhm.
But with Cebu, it was different. I had maybe close to 100 signups and maybe a few thousand interest. Maybe because my marketing was off, or no, not my marketing, my Facebook page was off, or maybe my PubMat was not detailed enough, because they still kept asking how to sign up. Like you don't have to. You just you
Just show
just
up.
write things on a form
Just
or
show up. Yeah.
show up.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
still, with room limitations, we had to limit it to 30. So I did have to limit the pool, right? And so in Cebu it was a little bit easier, but I think that's also because the market is a little bit more ready.
Okay.
So that's very interesting to me because, one, obviously, they're very close to each other, Bacolod and Cebu.
Yeah, nga, just across the pond, no?
Right.
Yeah.
It's literally like a 30-minute flight, right?
Mm.
So I was waiting in the airport longer. You wait for a Grab car longer than your flight
Then
to
your flight.
Cebu, right? Than your flight. So it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, compare the demographics, right, in Cebu and Bacolod, because it's fairly interesting to me how easy it was. I probably only had to share my Facebook page, maybe for like a week, and then I had to close it. I was like, our signups are closed. Unfortunately, we can't do a room full of 100, and it's also pretty hard because the course, actually, we haven't talked about it, is practical. It's all practical. It's like 80% you building the AI, right? And so I'm only one person. I was lucky to be joined by my wife in both workshops, and by my family in the first workshop to help me through the signups and the logistics of it
Family
all.
affair pala.
Because
Ayos.
yeah, because it's free, right? And when it's free, it's a little bit more challenging because if you teach it, then you have to do signups and you have to do certificates and all that. You have to serve food and blah blah blah. So I wanted this to be an experiment, really. What I learned with Bacolod was maybe I didn't partner with too many people
Beforehand.
more vigorously enough. Like I did,
Mm.
maybe I actually beforehand I did. Like I reached out to so many rich people, like politicians, messenger, email. I just spammed them. Obviously, I didn't pick up their call, or sorry, I didn't pick up. I didn't call them. I thought it was intrusive. Maybe that's the missing piece. But still, the same effort in Cebu was completely different. And also, just to compare, in Cebu, there were a lot more people who are interested with a sort of broader diversity. Meaning, I taught people who are jail guards. I taught people who are
Wow.
already CEOs who are leading their companies.
In the same
Obviously, you
class.
won't lose the yeah, the same class, right?
Wow. Amazing.
You have ComSci grads, ComSci students and ComSci grads. You also had real estate agents. You know what I mean? You had people in hotels who actually work to collect payment. So some niche job wanting to learn AI, right? And those were the people who actually reach out to me after the class and say, I want to learn AI engineering. So I was like, wow, okay, that's actually what it takes to get the interest. So from the people, to further their knowledge from just using GPTs and using vision models that are off the shelf to building AI engineering. So actual practical programming engineering. So that was a pretty successful metric for me because people actually came closer and said, you know what, I'm so happy that we've done this. We didn't do any coding. Now I'm ready, or I think I'm ready. They said, and they asked me, do you think someone like me can learn coding? Someone like me can learn AI engineering? I'm like, that is actually the side sort of objective of my campaign, is to sort of sell my services as a consulting or as a training consultant, or as a consultant in general, to find people who might be interested to learn AI engineering. So in the past 15 minutes, I didn't even talk about data or data science. But that's
None of
funny
the
because
usual
I've been
stuff,
doing
no?
that for the none of the usual stuff, data analysis, SQL, none of that, right?
Amazing.
So it was really all about just building AI that works, right? And so now I just wanted to be able to, I guess, spread that all across as far as I can, given my budget, right? Given how much my own pocket can afford, depending on who can maybe again sponsor some of the venues, sponsor some of the students if they can, right? And so that's still an ongoing campaign. I've been doing this maybe for 2 months, started in June. So yeah, just ended my last one a week ago, I think. So now I'm still plotting my next steps, obviously. Maybe I can talk about my challenges, right? So
Yeah.
the biggest challenge I've had is obviously number one is money, right? I kept talking about this. I had the TV, so not a TV, like a internet interview about AI, and I was like, if you're not making money out of AI, what are you doing? Like if I mean, in terms of AI engineering as a profession, that's sort of my thing. Like I want to be able to, I guess, get rich to help people. I had a mentor once. Let's not name him. We both know him. He said, "You got to be rich. there is no way you can help people if you're not rich. There is
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
like,
agree with that.
I don't have any other skills. I'm not a cook. I'm not a, I'm not a chef. Heck, I'm not a businessman, right? Like I'm not a real estate agent.
Not
I don't
yet.
know anything. Oh, well, yeah. But build AI. And so I wanted to make money out of AI.
Mhm.
But still, in order for me to spread the word about my presence, I want to be able to do this campaign that's, zero coding, find people who might be interested. But before that, I need money. And so what's interesting is Boom AI came in being able to,
Did they
because we
sponsor
do
you?
actual real AI,
Mhm.
not sponsor, but, like being able to afford, being able to help me afford the
To do
luxury of
this. Okay.
experimenting.
Got it.
Yeah. So they don't sponsor it. It's more of, if I weren't
Working there.
maybe
You wouldn't be
employed
empowered.
for an international company, yeah, it would be so hard because obviously we're work from home permanently. I can work anywhere. The schedules are flexible. I feel like everything just came into place for me to be able to experiment. Right.
Mhm.
So I've been saying experiment because right now I also don't know the directions I want to take after, even after all the free courses that I throw out. Right.
Mhm.
But still, it's good that there's already interest in people who are already wanting to learn AI engineering and not just going through all the data science, the SQL, and the coding. Obviously, that's very
Maybe
interesting. That's all well and
for
good.
the
That's good.
benefit of people listening, at least in the context of what you're teaching, can you briefly run through what does AI engineering, or what do your students end up being able to do, parang in a nutshell?
Sure. So let's tie it back to what they think they can do, not what they should be doing or what they can do, right?
Correct.
What they think they can do is what are the things that I've listed out in our course and what we've discussed, right? So it's really vision AI, audio AI, and text AI engineering.
Hmm.
So why would those three things be so interesting? Well, obviously there's teachable machines, there's ChatGPT who can help us teach those zero code,
Hmm.
and also it was so easy for them to build their own AI. They see it firsthand. So for example, for Vision AI, they were already able to build a face mask detection in 2 minutes. It's a face mask detection model live, real time, using their webcam in 2 minutes. They just needed to collect data, a bunch of data with them with masks, with them without masks. And they paraded it around. They were so happy. I think that was really what sparked their interest. It's because if for the first time in their life, they didn't have to code, or they weren't so afraid to code to see a face mask detection. And sorry, I'm emphasizing that because in 2020, people paid millions just for face mask detection algorithms.
Correct.
Let's be real. People, right? Like IoTs and all that, they had to collect so much data. And in 2 minutes, they were able to do it. And so they were so happy
So
about it.
wait, just to be very clear, in this, when you say they can build their AI, this is like deployed products, or parang,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they're
Exactly.
not building new foundation models. They're using whatever's out there, but layering process on top of it, and now you have a like basically a detection system, face mask detection system after the course. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
exactly.
Okay. Okay.
That
Yeah.
that is
Cool.
exactly right. So that actually ties into the overall objective of these types of conversations, right? Which is being able to take what's already out there, sort of repurpose it to whatever you can, whatever you want, because there's really not a lot of things right now that actually need building from scratch, and
Hmm.
I think that's what I'm trying to capitalize on in all of these. So even the course itself, I'm only trying to capitalize off of Google's free educational technologies, right?
Right.
And so going back to sort of what they can build, so it's those, right? Vision AI, they can do object detection now. They can do all sorts of things, zero code still. And then you can also do audio AI. So it's a lot of transcription services, right? That use AI, right? Sorry, there's a lot of software right now that use transcription services, and I just basically taught them the basics of it. And
Hmm.
so now they can relate to tools like software or apps like TikTok, right? When you talk through TikTok, it actually transcribes your text,
Auto
or
subtitles. Galing.
auto subtitles, exactly. So I was able to show that to them through sound. Like when you talk to your computer, it actually appears what the heck are you talking about, right? So that was very interesting to them. And then lastly was obviously ChatGPT and all the prompt engineering basics, just the basics. Like how do you actually help ChatGPT help you better do queries on its database, right? So that's very specific. That's very I was very specific in that definition. You're just querying from ChatGPT's database. Because at least up until this point, I don't think we're connected to the internet yet in terms of ChatGPT's usage, right?
Mhm.
So with that, with all those three combined, people were so interested in saying, so really you think that I can just take this and if I learn a little bit of coding, I can just build my own sort of custom stuff? Like that's exactly right. But it's still a uphill climb. I think that's where I'm still confused at. I can always be open about it. I'm still a little bit, on the fence about the fact that Python engineering is still hard. Node.js is still hard for people who are, who are jail guards. You know what I mean? Like for people who are hoteliers or CEOs. It's just not something that people would just pick up
Yeah.
immediately. So there's still those barriers. So
It's the proverbial coding, ano eh, how do you call it? It's it's like gatekeeping. Coding is like gatekeeping. If you don't know how to code, you're pretty useless in the tech world. That's why I'm very excited to hear about your no code philosophy. By the way, there have been earlier attempts to do something like, yeah, I'm sure you've heard of the term self-service analytics or
yeah, yeah, of
visual
course.
analytics. Wala, it never picked up eh. But in this
That's
case,
true.
I think you're onto something. It's similar to what I'm also trying to figure out because it's not forcing people to use a tool. It's telling them that with whatever you're doing now, this tool can help you. In other words, I'm not
Yeah,
forcing you to learn
exactly.
Tableau, and draw charts. You can do that if you want, but on your day-to-day task, like what are you doing? Copywriting or coming up with photos or marketing is actually a big opportunity. You
Yeah,
can
of
just
course.
supercharge that with a lot of automation. It's basically automation plus plus. No, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that was also a biggest sorry one of the biggest endpoints or ending lines that I always share with people. It's really all this stuff that we've been talking about, all of the fears, all of the ethical considerations that we're trying to talk about. They're all really automation at the end of the
Mm,
day. Because we
mm,
feel like if it's automation, maybe people think it's a VBA, it's Microsoft Visual Basic, it's automation as in I can open my door with a click of no, that's not. It's not just that, right? Like
mm.
automation can be I have a lawyer as a chatbot, or I have something that can generate an entire legal document so I can create one between me and my client, without having to talk to a lawyer. Obviously, that's wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no fact checking. You're not a lawyer. You can fact check your own generation, right? But still, being able to generate things like, for example, exactly for one-liner AI, I would say I'm not 60% automated, it's maybe like 40, but it does help that something else is building my entire campaign. So all my marketing schedules, all of my pictures, all of my text, they're all built through a GPT technology. So it's not exactly just chat GPT, but it's all generated. So it helps me because I'm not very emotional with what I'm writing. And I'm also sure it's grammatically correct. So it's
That helps.
it's been like a it really helps because it's a huge workload. Because I tried it actually in my first week doing marketing. I was like, okay, let's not use GPTs. How hard is it really? It's so hard because I'm not a marketer. I analyze data, but I'm not a marketer and I'm only doing this solo and I'm not paying anyone. And so being able to use that firsthand, obviously, I'm able to experience sort of the power of having something so easy to use, sort of free, free for me to use as well. And so I wanted to teach that too, right? And so being able to do those two things, I think really helped a lot in terms of being able to spread my initiative of maybe pushing AI engineering more rather than data science.
You know
Because
what
it's
I
I
what
think
I
this is
realized
really
recently, and I think you're scratching the surface on it. One of the, I would say, low hanging benefits of a language model is that it can help you it can help your thought process. So for example, you're not a marketer, but you want to think like a marketer. Voila. You can just ask it,
Exactly.
okay, give me the top 10 things I need to do now and create a marketing plan. And
Yeah.
and 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 that's not the usual issue in a case when like we do zero shot prompting and you need to validate the veracity of something. Who is Xavier Puspus? No, it's about what is a marketing plan, and so it's a common noun. It's not a proper noun. I think that's one
Yeah,
subtle
yeah.
distinction. No, it's a common noun. More, it's there's a higher chance that there's a lower chance it'll hallucinate because a marketing plan is a marketing plan is a marketing plan. But Doc Ligot is very unique. Xavier Puss is very unique. It probably will make mistakes, and that's very
Yeah, of
powerful. I don't
course.
think people realize how powerful that is. If you're able to conjure up basically ideas from the chatbot, as opposed to getting worried about the factfulness of the output. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think that's
That's
really
true.
something.
So let's exactly. So that's a very interesting point because let's pull ourselves away from GPTs, right? When we were still stuck, stuck talking about data science and Web3s and all that, what was the first thing that people wanted to do first? It was to think about ideas. That is the
Yep.
first thing you should be doing when you're trying to build things. So in data science and programming and Python versus R and Python versus Node, Web3 versus whatever blockchain, blah, blah, blah. It's still ideating. And so having a tool that also helps you ideate really does help you because, like, for me, I
Massively.
keep saying, I also don't know where I can get this campaign to, right? Like, how far can I go? I can actually still ask ChatGPT to help me out. Like,
Yeah.
here are the things I have. Here are the things that I'm having problems with. Where can I get it to?
With
Right?
a
Like,
with a
how
low
can I go
probability
far?
of failure. Kasi that's always the fear.
Exactly.
What if it hallucinates? Hallucination is an issue for me. It's directly correlated with the training data, and if you have a particular string or phrase that's rare enough, hallucinations occur. But if it's something that's pretty, it's a common term, and planning is about as common as it gets. In fact, you might even get really good outcomes because a marketing plan might differ slightly depending on who the author was, but generally they follow the same thought process, and billions
Exactly.
of data points distill that into a nice reply. I think it's pretty reliable if you use it in that respect, you know.
Yeah, and the internet is full. I also realized the internet is full of frameworks because people love frameworks. People
Hmm.
live off of frameworks. I think corporations and MBAs,
All about
they love
frameworks.
putting everything is about racy and
Mm.
SWOT and all that. And I think with all of those data points being fed to ChatGPT, it does help you ideate better, right? It helps you sort of focus your goals. And I think that also translates to, if I can do that, then I can also teach that, right? Then it still goes to my singular goal of being able to teach a lot more AI engineers. Because then it's still the same problem. We're actually, like you mentioned, we're trying to scratch that surface. Okay, now that I'm an AI engineer, even if we pull ourselves away from that, oh, now that I'm a data scientist or I'm a wannabe data scientist or I know data, what now? That is still the problem, right? Like, we're still
Mm-hmm.
trying to get, okay, what then can I do with these skills? We
You know
have
what?
these
You
tools that
you
can
just
help us
made you know
ideate.
you just made sorry to interrupt here. No? You just
Of
triggered an
course.
idea that I keep having a recurring thing because okay, it goes something like this. Let me know what you think. Companies have survived forever even without data science, diba? And the idea was to make them
Agree.
data driven, all right? Data warehouse, dashboard, predictive modeling. But it does require this very steep learning curve of database people, analytics people, data science people, and who are very low in supply. They're expensive and generally hard to manage. I'm just saying that because these are people who maybe spent 80% of their brain cramming a lot of really technical knowledge, no? Statistics, math, programming. It leaves very little left for things that really matter in business: strategy, communication, marketing, etc. Now, incidentally, that seems to be where generative AI is playing a big disruption. Strategy,
Yeah.
communication, art, picture. So suddenly I'm seeing maybe what it means to be data driven pala. Of course it helps if you have like databases and data warehouses. Do that too if you want. But the most immediate impact is, can I just let AI do my marketing? Can I just let AI do my risk management? Can I just let AI do my financial control or my forecasting without having to go through that painful path of digital transformation type projects which have a very high failure rate? And
Yeah.
then we just starve the demand even further for proper data science projects, or maybe we move those skills towards maintaining these models na lang, no? Which is probably the better place for them anyway to begin with. So I don't know. Do you agree with that, or do you have a slightly different view compared to that? I'm just
There's
trying
a
to
there's
figure
a
out
maybe
here.
there's a summary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's interesting because there's maybe a summary in my head with all of this, and I think the summary is people are lazy to decide.
Yeah.
A lot of a lot of people are lazy to decide. And even before AI and ChatGPT, people have been using us when I was still a data scientist to make decisions for them. Right.
Mm,
I'm not saying they're all lazy. I'm just saying there's probably something in the data that helps you decide on
mm,
so many things you're probably not seeing, and it's still really all down to decision making. So what I'm trying to say is ChatGPT is definitely, or any GPT technologies, is really definitely helping them make their decisions for them. And it actually pulls your emotion out of it. It basically helps you think a little bit more logically. Because then
mm,
you don't have to actually do the decision making. You just have to, okay, ChatGPT, here's the information, decide for me. You don't have to follow through with the decision. Like you mentioned, risk management, right? It basically allows you to just think through, okay, if this happens, what's next? La, 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 la. Then the other option.
yeah. Correct.
With your point, to your point, data science, especially in the country, is not at the level that it can do that immediately
No.
for tech people.
Mm,
Maybe in FANG or all of these really, really gigantic companies with 1,000 data scientists.
mm,
Maybe.
mm-hmm.
But for us, I think we just need things that actually help us decide on a day to day. So for example, for SMEs, right? Like I'm selling a
Wait,
very
on that note,
niche.
you know what I think
Go ahead.
also? Even the companies who are purportedly data driven, I don't
Mm,
see them doing. Okay, let's just call a spade a spade. The telco industry, they're notoriously data driven. They have a lot of engineers and scientists, but their business sucks. Customer service sucks. I hate using their services. So for me, I think they need the data science people, the data engineering people by default because of the nature of how a telco is run. But
mm,
they're not being put to good use in terms of improving customer experience and improving, God knows how erratic their profitability is also, although they make a lot of money just because they're monopolies, no? So I don't really see data science being used properly in that respect. So the point I'm trying to make is the promise that data science had before about how this is gonna revolutionize your business. I think we spent too much time admiring the Googles and the Metas and the
mm.
Apples, who are also notoriously data driven by default. But honestly, the odds that your business is going to become like Google, come on. I mean, you're not even supposed to do that. That's not your
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
now we're coming in from left field saying, ignore that stuff, or you can do that later. But here's something that's more impactful to you today with what you are doing, what you need to do, market to customers, treat them better, make your operations more efficient. And all of that doesn't even need a data warehouse. You just need a good language model, good enough. And you can do a
Good
little bit
enough.
of low level automation. I mean, well, anyway, that's what I'm suddenly feeling now with this conversation.
Yeah, that's interesting because you immediately got into sort of the gigantic corporations. I never really thought about that, but yeah, that sounds about right. Especially
Mm,
because from my experience as a person on the ground, majority of my life, my professional life, it's usually the red tape, right? That's blocking a lot of the supposed model deployments, right? But I
Yeah.
don't think so. Even for the models that I've built and I've deployed, I feel like they're so unimportant compared to what GPT can actually do
Yeah.
immediately. And I've had to spend months trying to build those decision making things, right? Like just even being able to do like a recommendation system. Obviously, you need a lot of data and blah blah blah. But like the impact of being able to build that maybe helps you revenue, or maybe helps you not bleed revenue
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, maybe 1%, or maybe reduces your loss from 20% to 19%, but GPT is just a little bit easier to use. It's a little bit more impactful. It can actually help you with greenfield projects, can help you save a lot of money, it can decide for you. So when I go back to my example of very small companies, like for example being able to sell a specialized maybe door lock, for example. Oh, it's voice recognition. Let's just say, right? Now you maybe think you would need a lot of data to do marketing for this specialized product. Maybe you think you'd need to do a lot of uh you need to collect surveys, do a lot of surveys to know the market, to know where you should be selling, how you should be selling it. And so if you were to go down the route of the data collection, like you mentioned, like the database management, data entry, forms, and all that painful stuff, just to get you to a point where GPT
Yeah.
would just say, here's what you're gonna do, here's when you're gonna do it, here's how you're gonna sell it, and here's
Yeah.
probably what you're gonna expect by the end of this month and that month. And maybe you just needed like a day to get that. You didn't have to spend 2 million pesos from your 2.1 million peso investment or something. And you're left with 100K just to actually sell the product, because you're still collecting data. Maybe that's where I'm getting at, because right now I've been reached out by a friend of mine. So that's interesting because I don't have a lot of very techie batchmates that I would say are very interested in AI. They get rich doing other things,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're interested in AI. Now they're rich and interested in AI. So that's always a really good thing. But they never were interested in collecting data. They were just interested in doing AI. So you see what I mean?
They're
Like
just
it's
interested
not
in getting
even
results. Just give me the result. Give
exactly.
me the advice,
Just
or can you do this mundane
give me
stuff?
the
That's really
thing.
that's really what they want.
Exactly.
And the pain, I think
Exactly.
the pain of doing like a proper crisp DM data project is just is is
Yeah.
just too much of a hard sell, I think. Scary. It's scary
Yeah,
because
yeah,
this is gonna
exactly. Yeah.
kill 10 years of work I've been personally doing, like building that workforce, only to tell them, "Oops, whatever you learned, that's just good to know." everything else,
Yeah, no,
everything else is now on
exactly.
top of that.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, that's exactly sort of maybe the fear. And maybe to circle back, obviously, we're trying to summarize some of the things here. That's what I'm getting at. The data science that we know of.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the right type of data science. Let's just say it's not the right type of data science. But the data science that we know of is probably not something that would help the companies a lot. And I think for me, I'm able to leave with a note that the idea of having AI engineering as maybe the top of mind for most people
Mhm.
would probably be a more fruitful endeavor, simply because it's no longer just about coding. It's not about just like, I can
It's
reverse a binary
problem
tree
solving. It's back
in my head.
to good old problem
It's
solving. And
back to problem solving.
oh my
Exactly.
god.
That's exactly
No,
right.
okay, sige.
So
Hold
that's
that
very
thought,
interesting for me.
And
Go
we're
ahead.
nearing the hour, so I want us to focus on this thing. Okay. Let's say, and whatever we're saying, that yes, indeed the needle has moved, and we're ready to admit that data science pala is actually a third industrial revolution technology, not a fourth
Yeah,
industrial
yeah, yeah.
revolution one. And the real fourth industrial revolution technology is AI, which actually renders many of the data science things moot. Not necessarily just because of the coding or lack of coding, but because the whole process is very different already. How an AI engineer thinks versus a data scientist, very different. What about this entire establishment, man, that we've partly created or helped create, where you have these math gods, programming gods, gatekeeping right and left? Oh, you can't be a data scientist if you don't take this master's degree in whatever. what now? And
That's fun.
and you have schools who are
That's
making a
I
name
agree.
for themselves in that domain. You have personalities and influencers. I mean, to a lesser extent, it's not really a big deal. But they've built this edifice. Now, data science is the sexiest job of the 21st century. Apparently, not for the entire 21st century, maybe the first 10
Not for
years.
the entire 21st
the, fir-
century.
the sexiest jobs
10%
of the
of the 21st
2010s.
century.
But after the 2010s, 2019, 2020, iba na. Oh my God. So now what do we do with
Yeah,
those? It's going to be a rude awakening. What do you
it
think?
will be. It will be, especially with a lot of the investments already sort of upfront, right? Like to build this, it's gonna be a hard pivot, I think. I guess what I would want to say is I'm interested and I'm excited to see what they would do, because there is a change that's needed, right? And I think I want to see that change too, even if it doesn't come from me, like even if I can't actually make a dent with what I'm doing, I still really think that AI engineering will be this thing that people will pivot into, or whatever variation of what I'm trying to say. I bet it's not going to be what we're doing now, which is just all build me a cluster of data text, as a thesis. It's
Man,
not
we
gonna be
we
that. It's gonna
built
be
we built
decision
professional
making.
maturity frameworks on these things. Like, oh, you're a level 1 if you know this, you're level 2 if you know that. Even the whole idea of you need to be mature, and to be mature you need data science. That always felt like kind of a half-hearted thing, because we have a lot of immature companies making billions of pesos apparently. So I couldn't figure it out, and now we might have actually just stumbled upon the answer. It was maybe a transitory phase where people get
Hmm.
familiar with data, they get familiar with machine learning, like the idea of it. But then eventually the nexus of power, quote unquote, shifts to people who use these models, as opposed to people who just love building their own crappy model to begin with, because they didn't have enough data. Well, that's always the problem. Like, you're never going to have as
That's
much
always the
data
problem.
as, you're never going to have as much
Exactly.
data as
Yeah.
Google. So why are you
No,
even
no.
bothering? Unless you want to work there, So, oh no,
Exactly.
oh no. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left. I don't want to drag it too long, but okay. What are you planning to do? I mean, let's not give advice. Let's just talk about what we plan to do. What about you? What's your game plan? What do you want to do with this?
Yeah, sure. So for me, on the very short term, I think I'm able to get to a point where I can do Mindanao once.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's the farthest I can get to? Maybe twice, with my budget, or depending on whom I can partner with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do a few iterations in Visayas, and then try to expand operations sort of within the fringes of NCR, or sorry, Metro Manila. And then from there, that's actually where I maybe distill down to, okay, I want to actually try to make money to support this sort of endeavor and find the actual AI engineers, right?
Yeah.
I've already had a lot of talks with some mentors that I've had before. Again, you probably know him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this probably the same business models, like try to partner with companies that would need AI engineers. It's probably going to be the same story with just a little bit more, uh maybe faster ROI. Because with data science, when you actually sponsor a data scientist, probably takes you like 6 months to figure out you don't have data. you know, for AI
You know the
engineering,
irony, because I keep, like, everyone keeps talking ROI, and I think thankfully I had this correct insight early on, that you're not going to make money from data science unless you use the output. In other words, data, yes, insight, yes, but you need action. The action there, you need the
exactly.
process change. That's what needs to
Yeah,
happen. You're either booking more clients, or you're earning more margin, or you're lowering your cost of sales, or lowering your cost of delivery. That's the only ROI. Up until the point where you hire the data scientist and do the project and produce the reports, what you've actually done is blow up your costs, because you're paying these guys a crap ton of money, and you're acquiring all these licenses for another crap ton of money. That's the conundrum, no? So there's really going to be a dip in profitability before the promise of gain, and usually the promise never happens, because whoever was sponsoring the project probably already moved jobs by the time the models are getting finished, diba?
Happens too
So
often. Yeah,
happens
yeah.
a lot. It just happens. That's why I was talking about digital transformation in one of my webinars. No, 69%, love the number. 69% failure. Failure. As
Nice.
in, so why are we bothering? Why are people
Yeah,
bothering? So
yeah,
now
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out. Then the balance, 21%, or maybe, sorry, 31%. Mali math ko. What happened to the 31%? And I am so sure it's those cases when, even if you didn't have this massive data infrastructure, but the companies were smart enough to make decisions immediately, that's when the ROI happened.
Exactly.
And this AI
Exactly.
thing might just be a way of shortening that kind of that curve, no? Like, instead of going through this monster stupid data project, um, you cut it down talaga and jump to the, and okay. The fun part is when you do that process change, you actually produce a lot of data. So ironically,
Exactly. Right?
that's when the data science actually becomes relevant, because you've already done something new. You now have an A/B test of some sort, and then it's going to gather, it's going to produce data na.
A
But
lot more data, get more
diba, parang
insights. Yeah.
then, so it goes, it turns it all over. That's what I'm trying to grapple ngayon. It turns it on its head. I mean, oh my god. Thanks for
So yeah,
that,
that's
Xavier.
exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right. I want to be able to do what other people are doing with data science, but for AI. Maybe that's where we close that, right? Like
um,
it's just a quicker ROI, honestly.
yeah, the ROI thing, and the other thing that you brought up, we need to do this. We need to do a sequel, man. But anyway, one thing that you brought up was the barrier to entry is so low. It's almost not there.
It's lower now. It's
If
almost
you're
nothing. Yeah.
if you're training jail wardens AI, I mean, no disrespect to
Right?
jail wardens,
In
obviously, but
uniform.
yeah.
In uniform, right?
So,
That was
so,
it was an
so
honor.
that's, I mean, this is massive. That means good luck to the people still doing it the hard way. If the jail warden is gonna just take your lunch, you know, I'm worried in a good way. Worried that that's gonna be a rude awakening. And then on your point, pala, it's something that I wanna toss in some 2 cents. So I admire that you've gone the, I guess, the free route. I think it's the best way to do it. Just test it out, get the product perfected.
Of
You're gonna
course.
refine
Of
more.
course.
But certainly there will be money in it because it generates value. Eh. So eventually somebody will say it's worth paying X because I'm gonna earn Y. It's just that unfortunately we're kind of in a locked, parang sa poker, you have a locked hand right now. No? There's no other way but to break the ice and just start giving the knowledge. Actually, that's part of what I'm doing. I'm doing these free
That's right.
online
That's right.
webinars, conversations. Just give it away. I've got tons, and I've
That's
got
right.
books at the back of, tons and tons of knowledge. What's it doing on my shelf? I just put it online for everyone to use, and then eventually the system will probably flip because, okay, this information is valuable. Who are the ones who have been talking about this for the longest time? And you know two of those people are in this call right now, and there's very few other people. I've always been wondering why. Now, I'm not saying we're the only knowledgeable people about this, certainly not. No, there are others, but where are they? They're quiet. I think they know the writing is on the wall. They just don't want to talk about it. Ako naman, I have no loyalties to whatever I've been building for the past 10 years, honestly. If we need to throw it away, let's throw it away. That's how horses and cars,
You
diba,
just
happen.
have to. Exactly.
Parang ganun eh.
Exactly.
Throw away the horses. Well, you keep the horses alive, obviously, but they're not going to be producing horse manure anymore because we're going to be using horseless carriages. It's that, no?
That's
Parang,
exactly right.
oh my gosh.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Thanks,
And I
Xavier.
think that it's going to be an interesting next few months, I think, if not weeks, right? Because AI has been exploding like crazy lately. So
Okay,
it's
sige.
going to be really cool.
Call to action time, no? Since you're in it already, are you going to be doing more workshops? Is that the plan, or do you have immediate?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a lot more. I'm gonna try and do as many as I can, with my schedule, or at least as my schedule allows and as my budget allows.
Yeah.
Probably a few that's free, and then that's where maybe I start the actual search for the engineer.
Mm, mm.
not the engineer that comes from a master's degree in whatever programming
Quadruple
stuff, right?
PhD in quantum mechanics, something
Quadruple
something.
PhD, exactly. Yeah, built COBOL, blah 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 in his sleep, something like that.
The fun part,
Maybe
well,
not that,
you're the
right?
physicist between the two of us, right? But the fun part is this almost feels like, because I've been watching a lot of these space podcasts. So, I don't know if you're updated on the James Webb telescope and
Yeah, yeah, of course.
how it's shredding decades of physics papers because suddenly the evidence supporting the Big Bang suddenly doesn't work anymore. If you're that
Yeah,
far
yeah,
from the
yeah.
Earth, suddenly everything
Exactly.
looks steady state bigla. No? I'm not gonna be the one to call it, but I go, wow, this is probably one of those James Webb moments where suddenly we see so clearly now, and we realize
Yeah, yeah.
decades of assumptions about how data should be managed or whether it should be managed for that matter in a way that companies used to think. I mean, oh, sige, I want to add this thing pala because I've been working with a few big vendors. I'm sure you know some of them. They have blue logos, as a matter of fact. But anyway, so so I've dealt with some of them, and they seem uneasy with the prospect that everything that they've been evangelizing for decades, and I used to be one of them, suddenly doesn't matter.
Mm,
So now, for an average company who goes into these vendor events, they have this mistaken notion that there's a linear parang sequence of events. Now, hey, before you get to generative
mm.
AI, you got to do this first, you got to do that first. And they know they're lying. They're lying because you don't really need to do all of that. You can just jump directly to generative
Exactly.
AI and build it. So do you encounter that like in your travels or in your workshops about people have this mistaken notion of I we're not ready for AI yet. I hate that phrase. No, we're not ready for AI yet. In my head, you were never ready for AI, and when are you gonna get ready for it? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
always the irony, diba? So did you meet anyone like that?
No, not just anyone. Like, it's actually a lot of my friends are that, right? Even the people who are interested in doing the AI engineering after my course, or at least after the workshops, they're all like, okay, now what? Like, so do I have to learn all the math now? So it always starts there. Like, do I have to learn all of the coding from scratch, like the for loops? And I'm like, that's partly true, right? But that's not to say you can't just jump right in and say, actually, tomorrow you can already make use of this insight. And that's exactly what I've been teaching you. You know what I mean? I just still feel like, obviously, in the 4 hours, in the 8 hour workshops, they're not gonna suddenly magically not be afraid of
Mm.
AI and coding and all that. Right? It still comes with practice. It still comes with being able to use it in your work immediately without coding and all of those barriers. It's still going to be that before they actually realize you're right. I could actually just jump right in. You know. So that's what I'm banking on, because that's going to be the easiest way to actually make a living out of this sort of campaign, right? That I'm trying to get at is for a lot more people to realize it's actually not that hard. People
That's
than
that's
what people might make
maddening
it to
for
be.
me, like maddening in a good way because it's literally pulling the rug from under our own feet because we've been in a way
Yeah.
advocating for one way of the fun part also is we're probably not the only ones to see this. Some people probably have seen it much earlier, much longer. They probably have studied better. And the fun part is they may not even come from the usual backgrounds that we expect, AI and data people. Like, personal confession, I was supposed to give this workshop in Cavite, and
Mm,
I hadn't even haggled for any rate. Frankly, I wanted to give it away for free, to be honest. But just when I was about to negotiate, suddenly they came back and he said, "It's okay, we found someone already." And in my head, who?
mm.
Who did you find? And they said, "Okay, here's the page. It's this some copywriting guru. I mean, no disrespect, this person has hundreds of thousands of followers, obviously more popular than I ever will be, but really not a data person. It's just someone who's been
Mm.
doing copywriting forever, and I surmise probably figured up one or two prompts better to make to make life better, and now is willing to give a 1 day workshop to a school to do whatever with AI.
Interesting.
And I'm thinking, of course, there was this very brief moment of who the hell is this? Then I said, I can't be a gatekeeper. I shouldn't be a gatekeeper. Like kudos to whoever this person is. You're able to give that material. I don't know if it's good or not. I mean, at this point, I don't really need to know. But the fact that I can get beaten, Doc Ligot can get beaten to the punch by some copywriting guru, I'm actually impressed. I said, okay, good on you then. Now I need to, up my game. Okay, if any other copywriting guru pala can kick me out of the shelf, I need to figure out a better way of or at least move much faster. So I really
That's
need to
right.
up to
That's
up my
right.
game. Yeah.
I mean, that's the same for all, right? Like we have things like GitHub can actually code for you, all those types of stuff, right? And so even your Visual Studio can code for you. Like everyone just has to up their game. Honestly, may it be in talks, may it be in programming, may it be in painting, right? Like being able to generate art. That doesn't mean that artists are sort of losing their jobs. It's just like you
Are we
just
just
kind of
being
have to
polite?
get better.
Are we just being polite? Because I'm actually ready to
Well,
say artists are gonna lose their jobs and they really
yeah,
need to figure it out. Of course I feel for them, and I feel for, of course, this whole copyright debate is still there. But in my case, it's the writing's on the wall. If you don't adjust, then that's it. There's really no way for you to. It's like you cannot be the last person riding a horse in an era of cars. That's what I mean. Parang
yeah,
it didn't matter
exactly.
how good you were with the horse. It didn't matter. When people
Exactly.
shifted, they shifted. It's the same thing with TikTok, for example. Like I'm on TikTok now, I'm trying to figure it out. I can't be the last person hanging on to, what is it, like Twitter or LinkedIn when now everyone's on TikTok. And the kind of engagement I'm
That's
getting on
true.
TikTok
That's
is
true.
very different. And I said, wow, this is a totally new game. And yeah. Okay. Sige,
Yeah.
I think we're pretty much at the hour. Last thoughts before we go?
I think for me, I stick to what I started talking about, and I think for me, for the Philippines, we're coming into maybe a season or an era where AI or AI engineering or whatever variation of that name would be is getting to a point where it's going to be the same with data science. It's going to
Mm,
be like the sexiest job we're gonna get into, but it's gonna be different this time around. It's gonna be a little bit faster in terms of growth. You don't really necessarily need to learn all the tools that you needed to learn data science. But then also for companies who would want to hire these people who want to do AI engineering, and again all the variations around it,
mhm.
would actually benefit a lot faster, a lot better with their investment.
Yeah.
I have yet to see that for my own vision, right? Like I have yet to build my own team of AI engineers from these workshops, but I'm excited to see what the future holds. I think that's where I'll end all that.
Yeah, and yeah, thanks for sharing your progress. I'm obviously going to be watching with keen interest, and yeah, I'm sure within a
Thank
month
you.
or so there'll be much more to talk about. And yeah, until then, I look forward to our next chat, Xavier.
Thank you. Thanks, Doc.